I don't think that you're ready for this. You're about to see some crazy things. Like, I'm about to unlock a new playstyle, a new build for a lot of you, and I hope that you take it, run with it, have fun. Also tag me on Twitter, and for the rest of the year, I only have a couple videos planned since I'm going to spend time with family for the holidays. This one's just in time to round out the year and is going to be the gift that keeps on giving going into Witch Queen. Here's a small glimpse of the things I'm about to cover.
Zone B captured.
Stay with me on this one. There's multiple things to go over. I'm going to cover various things for Hunter, Titan, Warlock. Very strong things. It's nuts. A lot of players are talking about certain builds with the newly buffed Cryosthesia, such as bottom tree throwing knife with Assassin's Cal. It's very good. And that's where this video starts, the Cryosthesia buff. They removed variable trigger completely and now fires on a trigger press instead of release. They also have the travel speed at 9,999, literally over 9,000. They made it hit scan regardless of frame rate. Charge shot moved to a special reload. Getting a kill with the sidearm enables access to the special reload. And once that charge shot is fired, the weapon reverts to standard sidearm fire. It does not cost the entire magazine. And the charge shot now deals an area of effect which freezes and slows players. Direct hits still freeze. Next to them, it slows them. A great buff to this sidearm, but now here's the other part. Only made possible by this buff, focusing lens. It does work, and it's always worked in the Crucible. Your light abilities do 50% more damage to combatants affected by stasis. This also works really well in PvE, but in the Crucible, it makes a lot of basic abilities and exotics one-shot and come to life. Out of the gate, 3 things that you need. Number 1, you want sidearm loaders on. Double if you can. 2, you want to spec high into the ability that you're using. It could be a melee build, grenade build, 100 strength, 100 grenade. At least 8, and if you're going to do 9, you might as well do 10. I went over that in the variable cooldown changes. And 3, after a freeze, a regular basic melee will down an opponent. You get a kill with Cryosthesia, load in the freezing round. Once you hit them, they're going to be frozen for about 2 seconds. And the new change, again, if you miss them and it's to the side, and it's still close, it can slow them. And since they're slowed, focusing lens still does work because they're affected by stasis. And again, in this state, your light abilities do 50% more damage. So Joker meme, here we go. I first want to start with Hunter. Very strong things going on. First, Night Stalker. How about a one-shot smoke grenade? And to do this, you can only do it with Khepri's Sting. Remember, punching someone with full melee energy will instantly cast a smoke bomb. You gain true sight while in the effect of your own smoke bomb effect, and your smoke bombs deal increased damage. That's the important part. It deals 2 damages of 50 on impact, then 90, plus for the one shot. As soon as you shoot the free shot, you follow it up with the smoke. And if you're a little late, and it didn't do full damage for the one hit kill, that's okay. You just finish them off with the freshly reloaded Cryosthesia, which is perfect. And that goes for everything I'm about to talk about today. A lot of times, if you're a little late, it might leave them literally a one shot, so you just finish them up with the sidearm. That way you can load in the freezing round. It works with all smokes. With top tree, you can get a kill with the sidearm. Load in the freezing round. Run around a little bit. Once you see somebody on your radar, you shade step, go invisible. You're going to come out invisible, shoot them, make them frozen, and throw that smoke grenade. Middle tree, it's the corrosive. It's the strongest. Bottom tree also works. Bottom tree allows you to go invisible if you get within that smoke cloud. And as always, the melee does one-shot them no matter what, but if you do have the smoke bomb ready, remember Khepri's drops it on the body. So in bottom tree's case, you're going to get true sight and go invisible. Very strong, but what might be the strongest out of everything talked about today is Top Tree Gunslinger. You can go Phidias Spaith for 2 knives, but I found the best is going to be the Young Ahamkara Spines. Both the Trip Mine and the Explosive Knife one shot with focusing lens. And remember with the Spines, ability damage gets that Trip Mine back. And when you have on the Ahamkara Spines, the Trip Mine does not hurt you. There are a ton of things that work with this, but there's a lot that don't, like incendiary grenades. You can freeze them in place to end up getting the one shot, but things like fusion grenades, the magnetic Titan grenade, certain things like the bombardiers, you would love for them to work, but they don't. Because all of those take too long to detonate. They're going to be done being frozen or slowed. But with Top Tree Gunslinger here, the trip and knife throw is very fast. You can do some crazy stuff with them. Crazy combat loop. It's probably my favorite. You also get Chains of Woe going for a faster reload, and that reload really helps rocketing in that freezing round to keep the loop going. It's a blast to play. Not to be outdone, Blade Barrage is very strong too. With the thrown melee, its knife trick, it throws 3 knives. Each one with focusing lens does 160 damage. And this tree has Playing with Fire. Destroying burning enemies recharges knife trick more quickly, and then the burning edge, while enemies burn, your dodge ability recharges faster. So on screen, like right now I'm using the Assassin's Cal, so I get a little bit of health back I go invisible, but I also have Knife Trick on the screen, getting that knife back so I go do it again. And you can use things like Bombardiers, you can let your mind wonder on what to pair. But the main thing is after you freeze them, the Middle Tree knives one-shot. Onto Arc Strider, very, very good too. The Tempest Strike on Middle Tree will one-shot without focusing lens, but with it, as you saw, it can take out a super. Really crazy to think that a Tempest Strike can take out a super. It's also one of the best pairings with Cryosthesia. With the buffed Lightning Weave, after you get that melee final blow, it's helping the reload. It's really, really good. Top Tree Arc Strider, you can use Assassin's Cowl or Liar's Handshake. The first melee is free because they're frozen. You get the melee final blow and you're allowed to dodge. You have Deadly Reach. If an enemy is close, you're going to hit them with the cross counter. It's a way to get this melee build going, and it's like this with a lot of exotics in the game. I'm going to cover a couple more. It gets them going way easier. Onto Warlock. Warlock also has some great stuff with it. First, Voidwalker, Nothing Manacles. You can use it with Top Tree Bloom, Middle Tree Dark Matter, Bottom Tree Devour. When they're frozen in place, it guarantees the Nothing Manacles will down them. So if you've ever wanted these to work how they did in D1, this is it. The Nothing Manacles are great. And for a lot of these builds, like I was doing with the knives, I have Bomber on my class item. You can also use Bomber on your class item for Voidlock. I've also used other exotics like Nizorak Sin on Voidwalker. Middle Tree, again, has the Dark Matter. So a melee final blow gives a little bit to my health, class ability, and more. I can do the same thing with the regular Scatter Grenade, but it's not as instant. A lot of times it does leave them one shot, but that's okay too, because you just finish them up with the sidearm. That way you can load it in the freezing round. It's a lot of fun. On Stormcaller, Getaway Artist is nuts with it. You just mow and go. I like to get a kill with the sidearm, load in the freezing round. Once I see somebody get close, I go ahead and bring out the Arc Buddy. And remember, when it gets tags, it gives energy to itself. I'm on Bottom Tree, so when the Arc Buddy is running out on the timer, I pop a Rift to refresh the Arc Buddy timer. And with Focusing Lens, it does 16 per tag. After you freeze them, the Cryosthesia reloads. It's going to be harassing them with the 16 damage, and then you're hitting them with the sidearm. You just mow through everything. And a lot of the time, you're going to get a final blow with the sidearm, so you can just load in the freezing round to go do it to the next enemy. Keep the chain going with the Rift. Very, very strong. Pretty crazy with the little guy. It counts as a light ability. It puts in the work. It gets itself back too. With Warlock at base, because the melee on a frozen player is basically free, you can get all sorts of builds going that you usually have a hard time with. You would max out your melee for that 30-second cooldown, like on, let's say, Bottom Tree Dawnblade. You can get the Sun Bracers going. Just go crazy with it. Get Fellwinter going. There's the Karnsteins, various builds. You can also get Winters going. The next melee will be a one-shot, and if you have your basic and charged melee binded, you can get a regular melee off on the first enemy that's frozen. Within that time frame, you could throw the charged melee, Celestial Fire, Ball Lightning, and it will one-shot at range. You can do a lot with the Warlock. With the Titan, there are some routes you can go. Most of the grenades can't do it. Maybe Lightning if you have a wall there, but Thermite and others will not one-shot. They're going to hit hard, but they're not going to one-shot. But here's some things you can do though, like Middle Tree with the Severance and Closure. Remember, the Throwing Hammer will proc that Firefly Explosion at the point of impact. You get some collaterals going. It's another melee ability that is very fast, which is what you need. You can do it from a distance. And as you're doing this, you're also getting Roaring Flames going with Middle Tree. So maybe you can get a one-shot hammer or a one-shot fusion on low resilience guardians without freezing them. On Bottom Tree hammers, there's the Sunspots with something like Phoenix Cradle. It's going to allow you to get that melee final on the frozen enemy. Have the Sunspot damage for the sidearm to get easier kills just to go do it again. The Sunspots are shared. Your teammates can go through them. And also, I'll talk about it a little bit more in a moment, but all of these melee builds, you've caught a glimpse of it. I am running a Blunt Execution round BXR. It does 60 per crit, 180 damage for that burst. Huge damage. And any buff on top, like Charge with Light, it will one burst. Then there's something like the Frontal Assault with the Insurmountable. I went over this build. Bottom Tree melee will refresh because you have that exotic helmet on, so you can keep abusing Frontal Assault. You would come out with 100 stability on the BXR, Blunt Execution rounds. Same thing, 60 per crit, it's sick. But things like Kepri's Horn don't get that light ability damage for Focusing Lens for some reason, but it's still going to hit pretty hard. It'll also make Ashen Wake one shot. Again, you can use it with Sunspots. Freeze them, throw the fusion on them, create a Sunspot, get the damage. It's also going to get the fusion back. You can go do it again. I tested most, if not all, abilities and exotics. Things like the Vesper of Radius doesn't work. Some abilities take too long. But there are some things like using Gemini Gestures on any tree to take away radar while you're doing the evil things that you're doing. Crown of Tempest, Claws of Ahamkara, Starfire, Chromatic Fire, Worm God, Feedback Fence to build energy, so much more. And by the way, the sweats hate this, oh my god. I've had more nasty messages in the last day than like the past year. This is going to be gone after this season. They change out the artifact each season, so when Witch Queen comes, this mod's going to be gone, more than likely. But if it ever comes back, this is available. You can still use some of the abilities to one-shot, like the throwing hammer, bottom tree throwing knife, Tempest Strike, but to kill supers, you need the focusing lens. The nothing manacles work because they can't move, but a lot aren't going to do it because they need focusing lens to make up that damage. So go have fun. That's what this game is all about. Find more, do more. I'm going to be playing with all this a lot before Witch Queen. Just keep trying new things. It's crazy. If you're new here, remember to hit the subscribe button, and if you are subscribed, thank you so much for your support. And if you're looking for a new controller, I am partnered with Scuff Gaming. Use the link down below and my code COOL at checkout for a discount. Get creative, definitely try some of this. At me on Twitter with some of your favorite plays. Thank you for watching, and until the next one, I am CoolGuy.